This is a butternut squash, and what I'm going to show you will work well for a lot of different types of hard winter squashes. And these are squashes that need longer cooking than, say, summer squashes or zucchini type squashes where they benefit from just a quick cook or even eating raw. So first, with some of these you can eat the peel. You probably want to save eating the peel of some squashes for, the organic ones that you might find, or the ones with a really thin skin. I find the butternut squash has a bit too thick of skin to be enjoyable to eat, so I like to peel it. And I find a peeler that's in the shape of a Y is easiest for this, but a standard peeler will work well also. I recommend peeling it when it's whole. It's pretty hard to get the peel off otherwise. If you try to do this and it's really hard to peel, you probably need a sharper peeler, so it might just be time to invest in one of those. And let's say if you peel and it's still kind of the whitish color, like it looks like just barely under the outside peel, then you just want to do maybe a couple passes just to get that off. That the peel just doesn't have a lot of taste. I should say skin. Many different words for the same thing. And it does exude a little bit of moisture and it becomes a little slippery, so do be careful. You can, you don't want to have your hands in a place where if you slipped you could cut yourself. Also, why I like to use the peeler versus a knife to peel this is that I feel like it's a little safer. You can also buy pre-cut up butternut squash. A lot of people will do that to save time. The more processing that's done ahead of time, though, the more you're going to pay. So if you want to save your food dollars, definitely doing it yourself, as long as you have the time, is going to be more economical. Okay, just looking for any bits of peel I might have missed. Okay, so now there are a couple of other things we need to do to prepare this for roasting. So one of the next things we want to do is just cut off that stem end. It can really take some force to do that. If your knives aren't sharp and feel like you're having to push so much that you're worried you're going to slip, it's another good time to sharpen your knives. Okay, cut off the other end. That's not very enjoyable to eat. And then in this more bulbous part, the rounder part toward the bottom, that's where the seeds are going to be. In any winter squash, there's going to be seeds somewhere. Same with pumpkins, which are really, other words for the same thing. For butternut squash, I know there's really no seeds in this top part, so I'm just going to cut that off and set it off to the side. I can work with the seedy part. So just cut straight down through there, and you see there's the seeds. And then I like to have my handy scrap bowl here. Just taking some kind of spoon, like a teaspoon or tablespoon from your silverware drawer, scrape that out. You can usually find that if you give a little pressure, that the edge of your spoon will just do a little bit of digging into the flesh. You don't want to dig way deep, but it's just the right amount. If you try to use a knife, you just hack it to bits. It's really much more challenging, and the spoon does a great job. You can try out different spoons. Different spoons are more or less, have more or less of an edge. It might work better or worse for this. And you just want to get all these little slimy pieces out as well. So this is not does not have a good mouthfeel. So seeds and the slimy bits. Other people will roast, peel it, roast it whole, and then take the insides out later. That's certainly easier if you don't have a sharp knife. I would, recommend potentially doing that. You can also cut it in half, and if you just need the flesh and it doesn't need to be in nice cubes, then before you peel it, you could just cut it in half the long way and put it cut side down on some parchment on a sheet pan. Roast it until you can poke it with a fork and it's soft. Anywhere between 350 and 400 degrees, and then let it cool. Then you can just scoop out the seeds and everything very easily. They'll kind of fall out, be easy to scoop out, and the flesh will be easy to get out as well. So that's a good solution if you need the flesh, but you don't have a good peeler or you don't have a great knife. Now, if you want to cut this into pieces, for roasting or something like that, or cut them up into large pieces, say for our butternut squash apple soup that we do in the soups and salads session, then you can cut them up like this. Keep your fingers out of the way. There you go. And then you want to make sure you have enough that you can kind of confidently hold. You can just cut them up into roughly 1-inch pieces. So It's a good size for, you know, boiling so that they cook fairly quickly in a soup. You know, roasting, you might want to have more shape. You might have something like that. You might want to have, you know, bigger cubes, so you or smaller, depending on, you know, if you want little ones to put in a salad, if you want big ones, so it looks like a big, you know, beautiful side dish. When you roast these, they're really good with herbs like rosemary and thyme. So for this, I'll cut down to make a flat side. This is the part without the seeds. Okay. Sometimes there is this like other fibrous matter in here. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. If it is, it's, you know, it's pretty easy to just cut that out. It is not as slimy as this inner part is, but it's not pleasant to eat. So just cut that out. If there's any firm bits at the bottom, you can keep that. This would be something I would discard. And so if you end up with more, this is more than you would usually end up with in there, so you can just cut it into whatever strips you're going to make, and then you can cut it out after the fact as well. Just keep your fingers out of the way and cut down. It's one way. You know, there's many ways to get to the same end result. Yeah. This is a little firmer than this is. It doesn't scoop out as nicely with a spoon if you have it. But again, it's, you know, really hit or miss whether you're going to have that part in there or not. Yeah. All right, so we have all of that, you know, the part that isn't as firm. You know, if you're not sure, if you feel it and it squishes, you don't want to eat that part. It's nice and firm. You know, makes a good solid sound when you hit it on the cutting board. That's what you want to eat. And in our roasted vegetables, in our proteins and roasting class, then, you know, often we're recommending, you know, kind of this rough cut, you know, kind of these size pieces. As long as they're in the ballpark of being the same size, it's nice, but having them a little bit different shapes so they're rustic, and some are a little more done, some are a little less done. The more done pieces get, you know, more browning, caramelization, a lot of flavor, and then the bigger pieces, when you cook them till they're done, are a nice, tender, you know, creamy in the inside. So I hope this is helpful in getting started in, you know, tackling those winter squashes. I know they can be intimidating for a lot of people.